in the court decision.
All right, Steve Moore. Thank you very much, Steve.
Great to be with you, sir.
Next question. Is today's fast-track decision a supreme win for the president? David Drucker of Roll Call says not so fast. All right, David, welcome to the program, but I read this the other way around. I read this as an Obama victory because he gets to implement Obamacare. It's going to be in place by the summer of 2012. He wins on this one, doesn't he?
Well, I don't think so, although you make a good argument from the policy standpoint. But a couple of things. First, I'd point out that much of this law is not due to be implemented fully until 2014 and beyond. Second of all, from the standpoint of somebody who may be against the law, for those that are, I think by the Supreme Court allowing this to wind its way through the courts on a general track and not a fast track, that if it does get to the Supreme Court, which I think it will, and it gets overturned, I think the President and his allies will have less of an argument to make that this was political. And the country, therefore, is more likely to accept the verdict as being constitutional in nature and not political in nature.
But this pushes the decision from the Supreme Court way down the road until actually a few months before the next presidential election. I mean, does the president want the timing to be that way?
I doubt it, because that means that the Democrats are going to potentially have to play defense all the way until the election. This keeps the issue alive, and polls show that more people than not tend to be against the law and don't think it's going to do any good.
Well, we just showed
and this allows the Republicans to keep hammering on this.
Well, we just showed a poll there saying, hey, look, 60% want it repealed or fixed or in some way changed. That's a very significant plurality. 60% repeal it in full or in parts. Only 18% want to expand it. So you're saying this extra year gives the Republicans plenty of time to go after it and hammer it over the next year and make it even more unpopular. That's why you're saying the Republicans win on this one?
Well, I'm saying that's one of the reasons, but I think ultimately if you think the law should be repealed on constitutional grounds and you want that opinion to be accepted, I think you're in a much better place if this law isn't fast-tracked, isn't overturned, and seen as overtly political. Not only would it motivate Democratic donors and the Democratic base to push back for the presidential election and all it means for Supreme Court nominees, but for the general public, they would see the decision as much more constitutional in nature, and it would go over well, and you'd have much less of a chance of a political pushback from the other side. So if this thing in 2012, late 2012, is overturned, I think the verdict is going to be nobody liked it and it's not constitutional, it's going away.
All right.
If it gets overturned now, it's something that can be campaigned on in the other direction.
David Drucker, thank you very much indeed.
Thanks, Stuart.
Next question. Where